It's mid-October 2025, and we have arrived in one of the most famous cities in California, San Francisco. Within San Francisco, there are lots of self-driving cars nowadays, and whilst driving through the streets of the city, we saw plenty of them. Of course, no visit to this city would be complete without seeing the Golden Gate Bridge. Immediately next to the bridge itself is where all the tourist attractions are. There's a cafe, some shops, and a visitor center. Of course, there are also plenty of areas where you can get some very nice views of the famous bridge. Now, the reason we were here in the first place was because our visit here would coincide with Fleet Week, an annual event where several military assets such as battleships, aircraft carriers, and of course many different military planes would fly over and under the Golden Gate Bridge during an air show. It's one of the most famous air shows in all of North America, but as you'll see, this year was a bit of a mess. But hey, at least we were able to land this killer spot on the beach between the Golden Gate Bridge and Alcatraz. By the time we arrived, the air show was already underway, and the Patriots, a civilian aerobatic jet team with their 6 L-39 Albatross aircrafts, were already flying. One of the most exciting parts about Fleet Week every year is the inclusion of U.S. naval assets, such as battleships and aircraft carriers, sailing underneath the Golden Gate Bridge while the military aircraft perform their displays. Unfortunately, because of the U.S. government having been put into a shutdown sometime earlier, that didn't happen. The battleships and aircraft carriers were replaced with Coast Guard ships and yachts, and many of the fighter jets that would have appeared at the show were axed. So, quite unfortunate. But at least they were still able to cobble something together given the conditions they had to work with, so there was that. The next aircraft to fly in this heavily reduced lineup for 2025 was the T-33, and then after that, 3 P-51 Mustangs. This was definitely one of the highlights of the show this year for me, because I had only ever seen one P-51 flying at a time. This was my first time seeing 3 of them share the skies together. It was very cool. Next up, it's a very peculiar performance by a Boeing 777 in United Airlines livery. This was the first time I'd ever seen a civilian airliner pull off these kind of maneuvers. It was very cool. These things are a lot more agile than you might expect. Now, as is usually the case every year for Fleet Week, the headliner of the show would have been the U.S. Navy Blue Angels. But because they're part of the U.S. military, they weren't allowed to fly. So the headliners this year instead were the Canadian Forces Snowbirds. That's right, this is the second time I've seen them during this trip in the U.S. So we saw them not only once, but twice. And in San Francisco at that. This was really cool. After that, well, that was about it for the air show itself. But don't worry, there was still a lot to do in the surrounding area and in the city itself. There was lots of birds here. There was these northern harriers that were flying around. This is near San Francisco. Lots of pelicans because, well, we're on the west coast, which means there's lots of seabirds. Something else really cool that you can do here is the Devil's Slide Trail. This used to be a highway. It actually used to be the Highway 1 Scenic Drive. But ever since that was rerouted through a tunnel, it became a really, really good walking trail. If you can get past the massive uphill grades that exist on this trail, the views you get of the ocean are really nice. And hey, we even saw a whale. That's the whale right there. This is the best we got of it, but you'll just have to trust that that's a whale. Now it's time for us to have a quick little drive over the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, as previously mentioned, this is the West Coast, so there's a lot of pelicans, like a lot of them. We drove alongside them at one point, and they're just everywhere. You also get really, really nice views of the city from on the bridge. It's really cool, actually. Driving through the city now and contending with all the really steep grades you have to contend with when you're driving through this place. And here's another self-driving car. I told you, they're everywhere in this city. This was the day after we'd gone to the Airshow, and, well, they were still doing it. It was a multi-day event, so of course they were still going to be flying. So whilst we were driving through the city, we got to watch the Canadian Forces snowbirds a second time. And hey, whilst we didn't see any operable battleships while we were in the area, we did manage to see this one, so it's got to count for something. Passing by Oracle Park now, the home of the San Francisco Giants. It's almost Halloween now, so we managed to see this pumpkin weighing contest in Half Moon Bay where we were staying. The weight came in at about 2,346 pounds. And that marks the end of yet another video. San Francisco is a really nice city, much better than Toronto where I live, to be honest. And overall, yeah, I had a great time here. Hope you enjoyed watching this video, and get ready because the next couple of ones on this channel are what I believe might just be some of the best ones we've done yet. Details pending, so stay tuned.